Okay, here on a Wednesday, Longshore and McKnight, glad you're with us here, raring to go midweek, and man, a lot of things to get to today. I'm here in, adjacent to network control, Barry, in Studio B down in Troy today.
Yep.
I see.
Yes.
I see the bookshelf back there. I've noticed there's not any new books back there. Those are the same ones you've had for a while.
Well, yeah, but I've just off the camera over here, I've got like I've got 4 other bookshelves over there, and they're all full. You notice there's some like stuck on the top and everything. I need to get another bookshelf or something. But I am in Troy, where we're getting ready for baseball starting on Thursday. This is the final week of the regular college baseball season around, and because of that, everybody's getting ready for the conference tournaments and stuff. They move the weekend series up a day, so pretty much everybody starts on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then Sunday's off, and everybody travels to the tournament site, which for the Sun Belt will be in Montgomery at Riverwalk Stadium. So we're all getting ready for that. Troy will host Southern Miss in a 3-game series starting tomorrow. We'll talk with Skylar Meade about that in about an hour and a half on a very, very busy show today. I'm looking forward to today.
Really. A couple of things that have jumped off the page. Don't know where to start, but I will say this, just for preparation's sake.
Yep.
Do you have your 2025 helmet schedule available for quick reference?
John.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Because there's something, a little exercise, as they call it, that I want to conduct with you here a little bit later on.
Okay, I'm ready. I got it.
And not to let the NFL schedule release one-up college football. Looks like they're going at each other from time to time. Of course, tonight's the big NFL schedule release. I'm going to be watching it wall to wall because they kind of drag it out. But I will be interested in what some of the key matchups are, and really to see how many times the Cowboys have a noon kickoff on a Sunday.
Drives me nuts.
Which is very rare.
This is what they do. And now, without any further ado, let's take a look at Week 13, the marquee game. What do we got? The Carolina Panthers, and they will play at the Arizona Cardinals. Big deal. Yeah,
you count on the Panthers having a lot of noon kickoffs.
No doubt.
If you're not any good, you're playing at noon a lot. Saints fans, get ready.
We are getting into, as far as topics go, figuratively speaking, John is getting out the A1, a little Worcestershire, maybe a little hot sauce, and he is spreading it on thick, and he's got the knife going and everything. And let's dig in. John loves him some future schedule.
Ain't no doubt. No, and when they officially announced the 9 games in the SEC, plus that game with a Big Ten rival every year, that's just going to be too much for me.
I could see that. Jen Latta or what's that other lady's name? The one that I really like. I can't think of her name all of a sudden. Like her very much. Now we're here over on the sidelines with the father of the 9-game schedule. John Longshore is here. John, you've got to feel like a proud dad now that this is fine. They better give you some credit is all I'm saying.
Look, I'm just for the betterment of the game. That's all I'm here for. So we're going to get to that. But first of all, you being the baseball historian, aficionado, whatever else you want to call them, your thoughts. First of all, why was he called Shoeless Joe Jackson? Did he play barefooted?
Yes, he did.
And Pete Rose, how did the commissioner put it? Now that they're dead, we might as well put them in Hall of Fame.
That's exactly what happened. Shoeless Joe Jackson was one of the great hitters 100 years ago. He's actually second in Major League Baseball history in career batting average, something like 357. When he's from Greenville, South Carolina, Spartanburg, somewhere down there.
Yeah.
And when he played semi-pro ball, he had a pair. He's a country boy, barefoot all the time, and he had a pair of shoes that hurt his feet, so he played the outfield shoeless. So they called him Shoeless Joe Jackson, and it stuck. Everybody had a nickname back then. Well, great hitter, great player, one of the great hitters of that era. But he played for the Chicago White Sox in 1919, the Black Sox, who threw the World Series, a series in which he hit 375, by the way. But he knew about the scandal. He knew that there were players that were getting paid and everything, and he never said anything about it. He got money, but he never said anything about it. He never he never played badly or anything like that. So anyway, they threw him out of baseball. Threw 8 guys out of baseball, which is the reason why the movie is called 8 Men Out.
Yep.
And D.B. Sweeney played Shoeless Joe Jackson in the movie. Very good movie. So he's been out of baseball for 106 years. He's been dead since 1950-something. Pete Rose bet on baseball, and famously, he was banned from baseball by Commissioner Bart Giamatti, who died like 6 days later, and fought for, being able to get back in and everything. Never happened. Now, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred says all of the suspensions and all of the sanctions against those guys are now lifted. Because the sanctions end now that they're dead. Man.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. Well, a lot of good it does him, but now both of those guys are eligible for the Hall of Fame, which is the big deal anymore. I mean, what else can they do for him or against him? So Pete Rose, who's the all-time baseball hits leader, can now get in the Hall of Fame now that he's dead.
And let me make this clear. Was it ever proven that Rose bet against the Reds when he was the manager?
No, he never bet on or for or against them. There was never proven that he did bet on baseball. There's no doubt about that. And it's pretty well proven that Pete loved to gamble. He loved it. He'd bet NBA. They'd have stories about kids coming into the clubhouse and meeting Pete Rose. Oh boy. And like Joey, and whether Scraps is a boy dog, and like they'd be wearing a UCLA t-shirt. Hey, UCLA kid, I see they're favored by 9.5 against Cal this afternoon. Stuff like that. So he did bet. He did bet a lot, and it was pretty common knowledge that he bet on baseball, but nobody ever proved that he bet on his team that he was managing at the time, the Cincinnati Reds. But according to the eyes of baseball, that didn't matter. Yeah. You bet on baseball and you're involved in baseball, you're banned, and he got banned.
Well, Charlie Hustle, great baseball player, fun to watch. You just don't see players like him nowadays.
No, you're right.
My thing was always, if you didn't bet on your own team, is it really that big of a deal? I would even go as far as, hey, if I bet on them to win, if you bet on them to lose, that's totally different.
Because that affects the way you manage,
Yeah.
Hey, we need a pinch hitter here in the bottom of the ninth, and we need a run. Let's get that guy who's batting 105 right now instead of my big slugger who just, who's available. But
who was the dorky pitcher with the glasses and the Bad News Bears that Buttermaker stuck up there and told him to take a pitch?
Oh,
Rudy Stein.
Rudy Stein, yes.
Stein,
yeah. He didn't want to take a pitch. He didn't want to get hit.
He did not. But
yeah.
I think what Rose did on Between the Lines, as they say, was unmatched. The guy was incredible. Even though he did get his hitting streak was stopped at Fulton County Stadium. Was that Gene Garber that did
It was
that?
Gene Garber who kept throwing him change-ups, and he struck him out to end his at-bat. And he said, throw the bleeping ball. Yeah.
So, I get it. Okay, let Rose. I don't know much about Shoeless Joe Jackson. Heck, I don't know anything about him. But
I could tell you all about him.
I wish they would have done it while he was still alive.
Well,
and I know there was a lot of friction, and there was probably a lot of, hurt feelings between Major League Baseball and the brass and Rose. But,
maybe he could have helped himself if he'd played the game a little bit, and I don't mean played the game of baseball, but, like John says, play the game.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
He's pleading his case for reinstatement so he can be in the Hall of Fame. He's definitely a Hall of Fame. He's first ballot Hall of Fame player. Nobody else had more hits than Pete Rose did. But he's pleading his case, and he's crying poor while he's at the Luxor signing autographs and giving tips. No, stay away from the Hawks, man. They're 1-7 in their last 8 as a road dog. Maybe if he'd played the game a little more and wasn't always seen at Bally's or Harrah's or, all that kind of stuff, Major League Baseball might have done something. But now that he's dead, and he died, back in September now, like almost a year, they said, you can do whatever you want now. Yeah. He's dead. Doesn't matter. Jeez.
So when we discuss baseball and gambling, the Brad Bohannon take always comes to Otis, pulling that one out today.
Brad Bohannon, he is eligible. I don't know. I shouldn't have started this sentence, but Brad Bohannon is not eligible to get his hands put in cement at Bryant-Denny.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think you'll see a Brad Bohannon statue outside of Sewell Thomas Stadium, like there's a Frank Thomas statue outside of Plainsman Park or anything. But it's not that he's not eligible. If they wanted to, they could.
Yeah. That's a good pull, Theotis. I'd forgotten about that guy.
That's what Theotis' job.
Yeah,
that's what
Theotis is. Yes. And, of course, our two-time caller of the year, JD, says, this is, of course, all on our River Region Straw text line. Pete should have been cleared on the day Major League Baseball allowed gambling windows in Great America Ballpark, which he goes on further to say that's where Bohannon placed his bets.
Well, no. Let's be fair about that. That's where the guy who Bohannon tipped off was not going to start that game that day for Alabama. Their best pitcher, Luke Holman. Holman wasn't going to start. They had some, 5'9" pimply left-hander that was going to start. The guy says, "Thanks, Coach Bo," hangs up the phone, turns in front of all them cameras in there and says, "I'd like LSU plus the whatever," That was where it was. Bohannon wasn't there placing the bet, but that's where he was giving a little inside info as the head coach.
$10,000 on a baseball game's gonna probably make somebody a little suspicious, particularly in the regular season.
So how do you feel about it? I mean, I don't care. I was always anti-Rose in the Hall of Fame because he cheated. I am a big rule follower.
Yes.
My co-host, not so much.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, you broke the rules. You knew what the rules were when you were breaking them, and you broke them, and you got caught. Pay the consequences. Meanwhile, you cannot be in the Hall of Fame if you broke the rules of baseball that egregiously. And John's like, no, what's the big deal?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he just kind of bent them a little bit, pushed the envelope across the table a little bit too far. But they were kind of the same way with Snake Stabler getting him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't know what took so long there. I mean, he had to die before they got him in.
I don't think that was anything personal. Snake had it, believe me. And that's another part about it. Snake liked a good time.
Yeah.
I remember reading a Sports Illustrated article one time after training camp one day. That Sports Illustrated followed Snake around for a day. It was illuminating, believe me, at Raiders training camp. And he said, well, practice is over. What you fixing to do? He says, well, I'm going to head to Burger King, get some chow. Then I'm going to hit whatever the seafood bar was at their training camp place. So he had a certain zest for living.
Yeah.
But have you seen some of those guys in the Hall of Fames? I mean, there are guys out there who kept blacks from Major League Baseball for a century, Some of the most racist people you ever want to see. Boom. First ballot, you're in. Pete bet on a game or 10. Never going to have that. So now that he's dead, I'm okay with it. Let him in.
I'm okay with it. It was big. I tell you, it was obviously big news. I mean, heck, it was even on Fox News yesterday when it broke. Wow, really, man. It's big. Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson. So
yep.
While we're on baseball, anything else to cover before we move on to the next next topic?
A couple of things about my guy, Chris the Bammer, saying GM is not saying good morning. Hey, GM.
Yeah.
TY.
Yeah. And we know what PM is.
Yeah, and he always calls him that too. He says, GM, Phantom, Braves get to 500, any PM today? Same old stuff. Give us a complete coherent thought instead of just, boom, one word, two words. He's sitting in front of his computer going, and just give us some discourse, Chris. Mm-hmm. We love you. We love you. But more than a word or two. Yes. Atlanta did get to 500.
Oh, excellent.
They are 21 up and 21 down.
And after an 0-7 start, what a remarkable comeback, if you will, scratching and clawing and pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. I use that phrase quite a bit with
yes, he does. John
college athletic programs that don't have a lot of money. But
Braves win. They win over Washington yesterday, 5-2, the final score. Braves are 21-21, but let me get to this before Mal does. They're still 6.5 games out of first place behind the Mets, who have won 3 in a row. By the way, the Nationals, the teams the Braves beat, they now have a stretch of 7 straight losses. That is the longest losing streak currently in Major League Baseball.
I'm sure the Braves probably play them again next week up there. Whatever other tomato can teams they got to play, I'm sure they're going to be
on the schedule.
I know.
When the Dodgers come?
When they playing the Dodgers again? Those are the series I like.
Yeah. You got to play every team in the league and a couple in the other league, John. It's sort of the rules,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it just seems like they play the same teams over and over. But it just must be me. I need to study the schedule a little bit closer.
We will. Our schedule pretty full today.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty packed.
Yeah, CJ Duncan at the top of the next hour from Yellowhammer News. You mentioned Troy baseball coach Skylar Meade in about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yep.
The PGA Championship starting tomorrow from Quail Hollow outside of Charlotte. NBA playoffs. We might get to that a little bit later today as well. Maybe so.
Some interesting trends in the NBA playoffs.
Yes.
This has been the best playoffs I've ever seen so far. The best. Upsets and key injuries and huge plays. I got to admit, I'm kind of with John. I'll watch the regular season every once in a while if there's nothing else on. But the playoffs are can't miss. They've been great.
They really have been very, very entertaining. Yep. Even I was watching some of that Denver OKC game late last night,
absolutely.
And it was really, really, really good. So a lot to go over today. ESPN has released some kickoff times for some early games this upcoming football season. We'll touch on those. Obviously, NFL schedule will release tonight, and the helmet schedule. I've been kind of teasing this for a couple of days. This is what important stretches is all about. We'll explain all about that as well.
I've also got my Big Ten football helmet schedule. I've also got my ACC football schedule. I bet John's not really going to dig into those anytime soon. We got all that coming up.
Yeah, we do.
He is John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Known by avid golfers as one of the most beautiful and challenging stops on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, Cambrian Ridge in Greenville lies just 40 miles from Montgomery. It is well worth the ride for any golfer looking for 27 holes of jaw-dropping golf. The greens have been redesigned to accommodate the higher green speeds associated with their installation of the latest generation of ultra-dwarf Bermuda grass. Cambrian Ridge offers a fully stocked pro shop with all the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge for tee times and more information.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Okay, about 21 minutes past the hour here on a Wednesday. Glad you're with us. Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News and yellowhammernews.com. You can check us out there. Video content right up every afternoon about what the program is about or was about. And, of course, on Facebook, YouTube, X, Spotify, Instagram, there as well. Check it out. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. You'll get instant notifications. You'll never miss anything. So I guess maybe ESPN thinking, well, you know, the NFL is going to have their big release and kickoff times and all this type of stuff tonight. We might need to jump the route on them and go ahead and release kickoff times for some early college football games.
Yeah, ESPN is not all of them. I mean, a lot of them you can pretty much guess. But let's start with this. ESPN key college football games early in the year. Basically, the ones that we're talking about always kind of center around the big opening weekend, the Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, August 30th, Alabama plays at Florida State at 2:30 in the afternoon. They've got an ABC triple header that day, August 30th of, Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
Syracuse versus Tennessee in Atlanta at 11 a.m. that Saturday, ABC.
Yeah. No.
That game's always, in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the kickoff classic or whatever. At 11 in the morning? Ugh.
I don't get that. I really don't.
The middle game of the triple header is Alabama at Florida State at 2:30 on ABC. I think John said this way back when this game was announced. I agreed with him at the time. I don't understand why that's not the primetime game. Well, LSU at Clemson is the primetime game that Saturday night. At Clemson, 6:30, ABC. What the heck?
Yeah, I'm assuming just because Florida State was so bad last year, they're not thinking a lot about the Seminoles. Alabama 9-4. Clemson's a team I'm hearing a lot of people talk about.
Yeah,
in terms of being a national champion, possibly.
He's not wrong. Yes.
Both these schools claim that their stadiums are Death Valley. That's an interesting little twist. Be interesting to see when Clemson, I guess next year they'll go to LSU. But, I'd rather have 2:30 than 11. I will say that. And if you're on the road, would you rather play in the daylight instead of the night?
It's 6:30s. The worst, I'm telling you, the worst game in the world for your team is not a Thursday night game. I mean, logistically, it's not a Thursday night game. The worst game for your team is if you are the road team in one of those 8 o'clock starts.
Kind of like
you got to spend the whole stinking day in the hotel room, and you may have position meetings and team breakfast and team
Yeah.
lunch and, watch games on TV in your hotel room, but it lasts for it's the worst.
Kind of
You are
like that
not
game
wrong.
when Auburn went to Berkeley and it kicked at like 10:30 local time here.
Good gosh almighty. And it ended, at about 1:00
Yeah.
in the rain, and it was dark, and of course Auburn lost, and Auburn won that.
They did win.
Yeah, they did
Sure
win
did.
that game.
Came
They
back
lost
and
the
won
next.
it. But they had to fly home. So not every game obviously has been announced. They'll trickle that out probably.
Yeah.
SEC meetings in a couple of weeks, from next week, I believe it is. Then at SEC Media Days, they'll have more games that they'll kind of release some of the kickoff times. But as far as we know, August the 23rd in Dublin, Ireland, we have the Cyclones of Iowa State taking on the Wildcats of Kansas State at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Woo!
ESPN.
Can't wait for that one.
Iowa State, Kansas State. Last year it was Florida State and Georgia Tech. There'll be people that'll watch it. I'll watch it just out of strictly hunger.
You know why me and Range Pro and Straw Boy will be watching it?
Because there's a line on it. Yeah. So that's not the first game. The first games will actually be, well, let's see. I do know, the Saturday game, they've announced a couple of those. The Aflac kickoff game, Syracuse and Tennessee, Alabama, Florida State, LSU, Clemson.
The Ireland game is actually the week before.
Yeah, but the weekend around Labor Day, you've got ESPN Thursday night games, Boise State at South Florida.
Now, why is that game kicking off at 4:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday?
That was my lead in there.
Oh, sorry.
No. Thursday of Labor Day week. It's not, week 0 or something like that, but it's just a straight up game. It doesn't have any fancy name before it. It's not at a neutral site or anything. It's just flat out Boise State at South Florida. What do? They put it at 4:30. Why do they put it at 4? Let's see. Yeah, the 4:30 Central. Why do they put it at 4:30 Central? So they can start Nebraska and Cincinnati from Kansas City
Arrowhead
at 8. What in the heck? Am I missing something here with Nebraska and Cincinnati? The Bearcats and the Huskers from Kansas City. Why are you having that game? Why are you having it in Kansas City? And why in the devil is it at 8 o'clock at night?
In the history of Thursday night college football games, there's only a certain amount of teams that'll play on Thursday nights. I guess those are two of them.
It is a much larger group that will play on a Thursday night than the group who refuses to play on a Thursday night, which legend will tell us is one.
Unless it's an act of God or something like that. But Thursday nights, like particularly if the league says, hey, will you play Mississippi State on a Thursday night in Starkville? No, not going to happen.
But the big, and of course, Friday, you've got a rematch, Friday, August 29th, you've got a rematch of the 1990 national co-champions.
No kidding.
Georgia Tech and Colorado meet at Colorado. That's the Dion Showcase. The big elephant in the room, the one we're kind of waiting for, it's the 800-pound gorilla on that first big Saturday, August 30th of Labor Day weekend. Yeah, we know Syracuse and Tennessee, ABC, Alabama at Florida State, ABC, LSU at Clemson, ABC. But where in the world are they? They've got to be putting Texas and Ohio State from Columbus. That'll be on Fox.
Yep.
That's got to be an 11 o'clock game, right?
That build up there, Barry, I didn't know what game you were going to, because obviously the Auburn at Baylor game, which is on a Friday on Fox, going up head to head with that Georgia Tech Colorado game.
We just don't know what time that game is.
I'm glad I believe it's at night. I believe it's it'll be in that same window.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia Tech, Colorado. So I got to go double box there. I did see where the Texas OU game or Ohio State game that Fox, their two windows were either 12 noon or at night.
Well, the 12 noon, obviously, it's their first Fox offering, and it's a huge offering. Texas and Ohio State. That, what do they call it? The big noon kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
Big noon kickoff. All the guys trying to hype it up, trying to keep within, shouting distance of the ratings for ESPN Game Day. All right, we've got everything done. Now we take you to Louisville versus Northwestern or something like that. No, it's got to be 11 o'clock in the morning.
See,
just because that's their first one, right?
I think it's got to be at night. Those two marquee programs, that's your primetime game. And then they just have those guys there all day. They do big noon kickoff, and they get it all the whole weekend set up and everything on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever. A couple of recap. Well, Barry, they got to have plenty of time to recap that Auburn-Baylor game. You kidding me?
And that's the other thing.
They'll spend a lot of time on that, and then they'll just have the halftime show and from Columbus, and they'll talk about the Louisville. Who's Louisville playing that day?
That was just, I just came off the top of my head.
They'll talk about Louisville and all these other, they'll just drag it out till and Game Day's done that type of thing before for a night game. And
as we close, I'm not calling anybody untruthful or anything like that. I'm not, we don't know yet. But I will tell you this, there is not a single viewer to our program right now who believes that you're going to have Georgia Tech and Colorado in a dual box with Auburn-Baylor. There's nobody who believes that. You're going to be sitting there. You're going to have, I don't know, you're going to have your phone out. Hey, let me check Georgia Tech, Colorado. I had a TV opinion on that game. But there ain't no way you're sharing the screen on the opening weekend of the Jackson Arnold era, sharing the screen with Georgia Tech, Colorado. Any of you guys on the chat line? Any of you guys
any
of you guys believe a word of that?
Here's what's more believable. No. And now, yeah, probably you're right. But if things start heading south, I won't be watching either game. I'll be in my driveway listening to Andy.
Yeah.
Wishing Stan was back.
Yep. And Daniel brings this up. He says, how hot could Auburn's game in Waco, Texas be?
Woo.
On August the 29th? Yeah.
Going to be
hot. Yeah.
Any comment on the Virginia Tech and South Carolina on Sunday? That's the second of the two games in Atlanta. That one's not at 11 a.m. That's interesting. But, of course, Sunday night of Labor Day weekend, Notre Dame at Miami, 6:30 on ABC. Then on Labor Day night, we have Doug's TCU Horned Frogs at North Carolina on Monday night, 7 o'clock. I understand that Belichick kind of laid the law down at ACC spring meeting saying, my girlfriend has nothing to do with this program, and don't bring her into it, blah, blah, blah. Kind of setting the tone, but nobody's believing it.
Nobody's believing it. There's a very good article at CBSSports.com about whether Belichick will even make it to the first game now. So, we got a lot of issues going on. Lots of things. Ty says, just wondering if Arizona schools ever play a day game before November. Anybody know, Barry? Yeah, my niece, my brother Mike's daughter, Georgia, she goes to school at Arizona. And she says she's lived in Los Angeles her whole life and everything. But Arizona is like, it's not humid. I mean, I've been out there before and, running and stuff, and you don't sweat necessarily, but it catches up to you because it's not humid. And I'm used to sweating, and you're like, man, this is great. And everything, next thing you know, you keel over or whatever.
Yeah, you think about it. Big 12 after dark. I mean, more times than not, it was an Arizona or Arizona State game at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. What conference are those two schools in now?
Oh, they're Big 12. Yeah, Big 12. They're Big 12 now. And John knows more about that, about their scheduling times, because there's been a lot of times when he's focused in on those games because he needs to catch up. But
you ain't kidding. And if they don't work out, you go to the islands and take the Rainbow Warriors to get you out of a hole.
That's exactly right. There's got to be more money bet per capita on Hawaii football than any other school out there. Either for or against the Rainbow Warriors.
Yeah, Timmy Chang, they covered a lot when he was the quarterback. They did.
Well, he's the head coach now, and they're still playing that
really?
5,000 seat place.
Timmy Chang.
Yeah.
All right. So good stuff today. Some scheduling. Chris the Bammer says I'll be in my driveway about the second half. Second half. I'm hoping second quarter. What are you talking about?
This is what Chris the Bammer is alluding to, is that if Auburn is down 3 at halftime.
Yeah.
John's going to be, here we go. Let's see what they say about that. Let's see what Paul Ellen has to say in the Dixie Crystal Sugars halftime show. As a Brad Law with score updates. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be like wheels coming off. It has to be slight deficit to draw John out there in his car by the second half. Take a break. 24 before the hour. Lots to do in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150, with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the river region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust.
Okay, about 22 minutes past, or in front of the hour, until the top of the hour, I guess I should say, on this Wednesday. Glad you are with us. A lot going on. Some SEC kickoff times. Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, PGA Championship beginning tomorrow outside of Charlotte. Important stretches.
Yes. I like the one where you put your elbow there and you stretch and you get the you're right before you got to get your shoulders loose, the
it makes
hamstring.
You feel good.
Yeah.
Important stretches. What I mean by that, there's a 12-game regular season in the SEC. Everybody's playing 12 games. Some teams will be fortunate enough to play more, depending on how their season plays out. And as I look at a schedule, and it's easier to see for me on the helmet schedules that you provide every year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I went through all 16 teams in the SEC to find what's the toughest 3-game stretch.
Oh, Wait a minute. You've already done all this. You've already done homework on the program.
Well,
All
no,
right.
I will say this. I
Okay.
have not, to answer your question.
Okay.
This will be, kind of off the cuff, if you will. No prep here. I didn't want to get into a bunch of multicolored highlighters and things of that nature.
Okay.
I'm just casually looking at these school schedules and giving you where I think their toughest 3-game stretch will be. Now, for some of them, there might be some alphabet soup directional school mixed in between these 3-game stretches, because I'm saying that because to me, that's not even a game. And I'll give you a perfect example. I'll start with this one. We'll go in alphabetical order. I think Alabama's toughest 3-game stretch is going to be LSU, Oklahoma, and Auburn. Now, Eastern Illinois is mixed in there before the Auburn game, but they're nothing to me. So that's a complete shameless waste of my time. So I'm just acting like they're not even on the grid, and I'm looking at LSU, Oklahoma, and Auburn at the end of the year. You could maybe argue that there's another area of the schedule that might be a tougher stretch, but I'm going with that one.
The Eastern Illinois game is the Keelan Russell game. You get a chance to catch him. Toughest stretch. I got to go. You got to throw in the 6 games in the middle, the 5 games in the middle of the year, the games between the off weeks. Surprisingly enough, Alabama gets an off week before they have to go to Georgia. Huh.
Yeah, how's that work?
Yeah, some people cry about, I see LSU has an off week, all this kind of stuff.
Now,
but Alabama has their fair share.
There are 5 games in that block that you're talking about. Could you pick out 3 in a row that are more difficult than the 3 that?
Okay, 3 in a row. All
Georgia,
right,
Vandy,
I'll go at Missouri. Golly, you got to fit Georgia in there, though. All right, just to play the game at Georgia after the off week. Vanderbilt, who beat the Crimson Tide last year.
Revenge game.
I just like saying that. And then at Missouri.
I think they beat somebody else in state last year, too. But just saying, we'll get to them in a minute.
A sneaky team. Sneaky team. Missouri in Columbia, as John astutely pointed out yesterday, one of 2 games Alabama has to play in Columbia.
That's true. Alabama blew Missouri out last year. Now,
their quarterback was hurt. Come on. Of course, he knew that, and he knew I was going to jump all in on that. If you're going to go, Jamison Williamson got hurt in the championship game or whatever, you got to go. Brady Cook was not the quarterback. So I'll go that.
All right.
I'll go the middle of the year and still trying to figure each other out. Look, I'm predicating all of that 3-game stretch on the fact, I'll go ahead and say it, Alabama ain't winning at Georgia.
Oh,
they're not winning that game. There is no. Go ahead and clip it starting now, 43-30. Okay, Alabama is not winning at Georgia this year. So how will Alabama respond to that adversity? They eked a win against Florida State. They were lucky to beat Wisconsin. They lose to Georgia by double digits.
Whoa.
And so,
man.
Vanderbilt.
And who's Georgia's quarterback again?
Well, not really totally sure. It might be Gunnar Stockton, but it might be the freshman kid.
Just for the record, Georgia has an off week before they play Alabama.
Isn't that funny how that works? Yeah, in Athens, by the way. So, I'll go Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri.
We should have
and you got to throw Tennessee in there as well. But John says a 3-game schedule. I'll play by the rules.
Stretch. Yeah,
they're going to lose at Georgia. They're going to be back at home and the fans are going to absolutely lose their minds if they lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Diego Pava's running all over them again this fall. DeBoer might not make it to the Columbia the next week. That would not be good. Yeah.
All right. All right.
I wish, if you want to comment on the River Region Straw chat line, who has the toughest 3-game stretch? Because no doubt mine's tougher than that. Vandy. All right.
They lost. You can't talk smack about Vandy, Bama fans, because they spanked them last year.
Arkansas.
That pick six.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Milroe,
that quarterback's no longer on the roster, and a lot of people are happy about that.
Yeah, you're asking, hey, who's Georgia's quarterback's going to be? You ask Alabama, well, who's Alabama's quarterback going to be?
I tell you who it isn't.
Alabama, yeah, that's exactly right. The Alabama fans' crescendo is, it ain't Jalen Milroe. That's why they like their chances. Goodness gracious.
Now, this is a layup here. Arkansas's toughest 3-game stretch. And there again, a team like Arkansas, they probably got a lot of tough stretches. But when you've got one starting with Notre Dame in Fayetteville, then they're at Tennessee, and then Texas A&M. Auburn just missing out on this 3-game stretch, but I'm going Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Texas A&M is Arkansas's toughest 3-game stretch.
You got to excuse me on this one. Am I taking crazy pills? Notre Dame is coming to Fayetteville? Did you? Of course. I almost asked, did you know about that? And John, yeah.
I did, because I believe they were supposed to play in the COVID season, and they had to reschedule it. I think Notre Dame was supposed to come
play in 1893. Notre Dame is coming to Fayetteville on purpose,
and they have played in the past. There's only a few SEC teams that have never played Notre Dame.
I just wanted to get that out there quick before John threw that in there, because you knew it was coming. Okay. That Notre Dame at Tennessee and then Texas A&M, that trumps the LSU, Texas, Missouri at the very end after the off week.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, and again, John's point is valid. Arkansas is not any good. They haven't been any good. They're not going to be any good this year. I hope we get a chance to shake Sam Pittman's hand at SEC Media Days.
Yeah, I like
it
that
might be our last chance.
Could be. Yeah. Bobby Petrino taking over. This one's easy for me.
Okay.
The Auburn Tigers. The Auburn Tigers. To me, going out to Waco at night in the desert and it's hot, okay, whatever. But when they go to Oklahoma, to Texas A&M, and then Georgia's next at home,
yeah.
To me, that might be the toughest 3-game stretch in the league.
I'm trying to disagree with you. I really am. Oklahoma beat Auburn last year. Texas A&M on the road. I guess they'll be better. How is a school that big with that much money and those many resources? Nobody ever even thinks about Texas A&M anymore. How can they be that irrelevant, John? But yeah, they have to go there, and then the off week, and then Georgia. Yeah, I'm trying to dispute them.
I get it. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Florida next on the list.
Overall, though, I got to say, that stretch is tough. That's the toughest stretch on the schedule. I agree with you there. But overall, it's a pretty workable schedule, right?
No doubt. That's why I think Auburn possibly, maybe a week from this Friday, we might have a more solid selection on Auburn's future.
Right.
We make some predictions for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Robbie, be ready with your notepad as well on that day. I think there again, if Auburn gets through that 3-game stretch, I don't know, maybe wins 2 of them, maybe. But at least got to win one of those 3. They've got to win one of those 3 to go 9-3 this year. At best, they got to win one of those.
I guess it's a valid point. I do think Alabama doesn't win at Georgia. How does Alabama react to that loss? If Jackson Arnold goes to Norman on September 20th and lays an absolute egg against his former team, They're going to be out there with pitchforks. They're going to be out there with lighted torches and stuff. If he has a bad day there and Auburn loses, it's going to be hard to keep him just out of the doldrums when they go to Texas A&M. That a loss at Oklahoma, how Auburn would handle that would really be a key for the rest of the season.
Jackson Arnold going back to Norman and the Sooners spanked their old quarterback. I can just see Phillips' column right now.
Well, and of course that would be leading into Texas A&M, who Phillip hates.
Yeah.
So yeah, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, both on the road, and off week before Georgia in Auburn. I'll go ahead and say that I'll be absolutely down the line honest. Golly, Auburn ain't beating Georgia.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But there have been some crazy things that have happened at Jordan-Hare. There is no doubt.
And it's not just Alabama. Georgia's had some crazy things happen to them too.
All right, before we go to a quick break, let's go to the Florida Gators. To me, this one jumps off the page as well. You possibly could say Florida's last 3 games are their toughest stretch, but I think the stretch at LSU, at Miami, and then Texas, to me, kind of tips the scale for that three game series, because I'm just not sure what Florida State's really got.
Yeah, I salute Florida for playing Miami again. That used to be a kind of a deal. Miami was terrible when I was a kid, but I salute that. I got to go, golly, that does seem obvious. I'm trying to go end of the year at Ole Miss, Tennessee at home, and then Florida State. But Ole Miss is, I don't like him this year without Jackson Dart, without, some of those defensive linemen. Golly, I got to go Texas A&M, and Miami on the road, Texas at home, and then Texas A&M on the road, just like you. That seems obvious. Yeah.
Georgia will be up next when we return. We'll try to go through as many of these as possible. If not, we got plenty of time this spring to go over those games. But you see what we got here, the toughest 3-game stretch for SEC teams in 2025.
Lots to get to still. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, Marianne is joining me from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry in Pepper Tree on Vaughn Road. And Marianne, the month of May is here. So many great things going on. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's May already. So many exciting things. We've got Mother's Day, graduations, weddings, showers, you name it. In May, we've got it. It's a jam-packed holiday-filled month, and we are ready to go to help you at Marguerite's, because it is Earring Fest coupled with the rest of that. So what better way to help celebrate the lady in your life or the person in your life than beautiful earrings? Because, earrings, you don't have to worry about what size. They all fit.
They do all fit. You're right about that. With Mother's Day fast approaching, Earring Fest would be a great way to show Mom how much you appreciate her and love her, and so many different earring styles to choose from. Graduation gifts for the high school and college graduate as well. May seems to be a month that people like to pop the question as well. So you got that going on. And we can't forget, Marianne, Birthstone Emerald. I think I'm right on that for May.
Great job. Yes. I almost forgot. How dare I? Yes. Well played there, sir. It is emerald. So beautiful gemstone, lots of beautiful hues of green. We've got them in store at Marguerite's. Earrings, necklaces, rings, you've got it. So for all the May babies out there, you've got a great birthstone. Make sure that the person you love knows that you love those beautiful green emeralds.
Well, we know Marguerite's is open 7 days a week. Tell us where you're located and your hours of operation.
Sure. We're at 8163 Vaughn Road in the Pepper Tree Shopping Center, 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
May is going to be fantastic at Marguerite's. Make sure you go by and see them. Thank you so much, Marianne.
Thanks.
All right, couple of minutes to the top of the hour. CJ Duncan scheduled to join us from Yellowhammer News. Skylar Meade, Troy head baseball coach, at the bottom of hour number 2 as well. The Phantoms Daily Dog, Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland 777 topic wheel.
Oh, yeah.
will be in the next hour as well. So the Georgia Bulldogs, talking about tough 3-game stretches. I've had to kind of look at this one pretty close. I'm not sure there is one.
Yeah, this is manageable for them. They take on Marshall, which had a good year last year, won the Sun Belt, but they lose their coach and half the team. Marshall's not. Austin Peay, the Austin Peay mascot, John. Austin Peay is the.
I don't know.
The Governors. I have to keep reminding him.
Yeah,
that's the game John and I play. I keep reminding him. He keeps not caring, and he keeps forgetting.
Austin, where are they located again?
Clarksville, Tennessee.
Yes.
I'll start on this one.
All right.
Toughest stretch for Georgia. And I'm saying this young quarterback, I don't know who it's going to be. Gunnar Stockton probably to start. He played, in the championship, in the college football playoff when Carson Beck got hurt. Now Beck's at Miami. Young quarterback at Tennessee. I got to go with this. I don't know about Tennessee. I literally don't know. I know Joey Aguilar, their new quarterback, played at App State. Last year felt to me, John, like pushing all their chips into the middle of the table. That was their year, and they made the playoff and all, but they didn't get it done, and they lose their quarterback. But I'm going to go with that. The problem is you got Kentucky on the back end. At Tennessee, an off week, then Alabama, then Kentucky, both the Tide and the Wildcats in Athens. It's hard to pick a tough stretch.
It is. I know you're not. I know you're not going to go with Austin Peay. I get that.
No,
and I'm with you. I think that's probably it. At Tennessee, off, hosting Bama, hosting Kentucky. It'd be nice if the Auburn game was where the Kentucky game is. They'd have to go to Auburn.
Yeah, right.
But I'm with you. I think Georgia's schedule's very manageable. That's not the hardest 3-game stretch I've seen, but it's on there, so I'm going with that one too.
Yeah. All right. The Kentucky Wildcats the next week.
I think I see the one. I think I see it.
I want to be complimentary as I can. I like Kentucky. I like the concept of Kentucky football.
I do too. Yeah.
Holy smokes, they're going to stink out loud this year.
I met a couple who has a son that's a walk-on lineman at Kentucky. They're from up around Oxford, Alabama, and they are down on the coast, the Alabama coast, and ran into him. Kind of made friends with him a couple of weeks ago. New neighbors nice. And sons. Walk on it. Showed me some pictures of him.
Very nice. They recruit pretty well in the state of Alabama. They do.
As much as I've wanted to put Auburn in a 3-game cluster of tough games, I'm yet to find one, but I'm going to. I've still got hope, but I'm going with Kentucky's toughest 3-game stretch at Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee.
Dang it. You and I have got to disagree. Oh, I will disagree on this one. I'm rooting for Kentucky. I'm wearing a Kentucky shirt right now. Mark Stoops retires at the end of the year. John Summerall gets the job. I'm rooting for that. I'll go. See, my choice is this. You're picking their stretch at Georgia, at home against Texas, at home against Tennessee. I'm wanting to go Texas, Tennessee, and at Auburn, but that lends the value judgment that I think the game at Auburn is going to be tougher than the game at Georgia, and it's not. I got to go Texas. I got to go Georgia, Texas, and then Tennessee. How come the teams that are always kind of known as the second-level teams, the SEC tends to give them they tend to load it on to them and give, the top teams a bunch of crap.
And I'm with you. I think back-to-back away games at Carolina, at Georgia, then Texas. I could see that. I could buy that and move Tennessee out of there because it is at home, and Tennessee's got quarterback issues as well. So maybe South Carolina, Georgia, and Texas is the toughest 3-game stretch. And we'll just move Tennessee out of there.
For instance, LSU's supposed to be pretty good this year. Brian Kelly's a good coach. They've got talent. But look at this schedule.
Well, I'm going to let you go first because nothing's jumping off the page at me here.
I mean, it's easy, squeezy, lemon peasy. You got Texas A&M at Alabama, but then you got Arkansas.
Yeah. I mean, there's no cluster of games where you're going, wow. I mean, you got Clemson in Florida in a 3-week stretch, but you got La Tech in the middle. Then you got Southwest Louisiana after that.
Yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Vandy, Texas A&M.
There isn't a tough 3-game stretch.
But you got to pick one. You got to pick one.
All right.
I'm going to go with this one.
Okay.
And it's similar to Alabama's with their Eastern Illinois sandwiched in between Oklahoma and Auburn at the end of the year. I'm going to do the same thing with LSU.
Right.
I'm going at Alabama, Arkansas, who has played LSU tough over the years. I will say that.
Yeah, it's a rivalry.
And then at Oklahoma, you got Western Kentucky sandwiched in there.
Okay.
That's the only one I can come up with.
Well, then I'll squeeze that one in. I'll go Florida. Just jump over southeastern Louisiana and go Ole Miss on the road and then South Carolina.
That's certainly doable. That's certainly doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good one. That's a good one there. I do like that. Of course, LSU has 2 of those that you pointed out are at home.
Right.
My two of mine are on the road. So we'll continue this later on with Ole Miss. They'll be up next. But right now, Barry, I'm in CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, joining us here today on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. CJ, always good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Doing really well. We are talking schedules because the NFL schedule, they've leaked a few out there. A couple of them kind of pique our interest, but the rest of the schedule is going to drop tonight. They're starting to leak out a few games in the SEC schedule from ESPN and stuff. Have you ever obsessed about that? Have you ever, as a player, looked and said, all right, let me take a look at the whole schedule. Let me look at its entirety. Or are you let me deal with what's in front of me kind of guy? How do you compartmentalize all that?
You know, that's a really good question. You really should be kind of a week-to-week kind of person. But for me, I always like to know who's our first game, and we would know that, pretty early on. We'd love to know that. But then also, most of the time in the SEC, there's like a gauntlet period of your schedule where you go, 5 or 6 games in a row that are pretty tough and maybe one easier game in that. And so you kind of want to know what you're about to walk into prior to that happening. So it's usually the first game and then that gauntlet. It could either happen midway through the season or right there at the end of the season, but you kind of want to know where that is.
So I've been wanting to ask you this question for a while, and this it's come back up this week. There's a lot of talk about it. It looks like it's going to happen. As a former player in the SEC, would you be in favor of 9 conference games rather than 8?
You know what? That's a really tough question. 9 conference games instead of 8. You know what? The thing is that the SEC is so, tough on your body. It is a grueling season, and that's kind of why I mentioned that gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
You want to kind of get your mind right for that and kind of prepare your body to withstand that long stretch of really tough games, whether they're at home or they're on the road. There's just a higher intensity to those games. There's a lot more physical. There's a lot more on the line. It would be as if, you were playing a playoff game every week, if you were in high school or wherever. That's how it feels in a sense. So, I think we all kind of enjoyed those games where, we still had to show up on Saturdays, but there's a chance you may come out, in the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth, and kind of get your body recovered quicker.
Well, if the numbers are true, CJ, and ESPN's willing to pay the conference $50 to $80 million to add another conference game, I got a feeling that's coming.
It's coming, and it's been done before, so they probably feel comfortable with that because during COVID, you only played the conference games, and you know what? It was exciting for fans. My brother was at Mississippi State during the time, and so I got to see just a bunch of SEC games for a full year, and that was pretty awesome to see.
So look, if you're on the Vanderbilt squad right now, they're you're looking at Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech on the road, Georgia State, who beat Vanderbilt last year, and Utah State. You trade out one of those. You trade out, say, a Georgia State, and you add Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough ask.
That's a tough draw. That's a tough draw. And I don't know that I would take out the Georgia State. I would take out whatever game. Similar, whatever the games that you just mentioned.
I think Virginia Tech
game.
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech would probably be the game you'd pull.
Yeah, the game, regardless of who's better, it's like whichever one is the hardest to travel to. Especially kind of early in the year, you just don't want to slip up and not kind of have your mind right for a game like that because of travel. I would take that away. We'll beat Georgia State this year. They called us slipping. It's okay.
Hey, you got them in Nashville this year, though.
Exactly. You want all the home games. You want all those.
Right.
It'll be fine. You get the fans excited, get the boosters excited when they're at the game. So
sure, and the stadium will be complete. The renovation. It should be no more construction there.
It should be good to go. If not, definitely before the season is over. Really, we just have one wing of the stadium left, but the side where all the suites and things like that have been done and looks excellent.
Oh wow, can't wait to see it.
Excellent.
It's also looking like CJ and I've been up front on it. If we're going to expand the playoff, let's go to 16 teams. It seems to me that's where we're leaning. I've seen some models of what the Big Ten, the SEC, the other conferences, how many schools are going to get in, things of that nature. Are you okay with 16 teams if that's where they go?
I would kind of push for less teams, if I'm being honest with you, unless you're just going to put more of the big conference teams in there, right? If Ole Miss gets in now and some of these other teams that barely missed it last year, if those are the teams that are getting into the 16, I guess that's fine. But I think with the SMU loss and who was that? I'm going blank on the other kind of lower level team that got in, Boise as well. Those losses, to me, kind of proved a point there. It's great to have them have everyone around the country excited about a playoff because you're grabbing teams from all different areas. But it just felt like it was very evident that it's just two different levels of ball. And at the end of the day, I think people want to see a good product. They want to see a competitive product. We couldn't get that until almost the semifinals because of those things. And so, I'm even watching the NBA playoffs now, and it's hard to watch. I'll turn it on for a little while, and then I'll walk away because a team's up 20 points. And, you don't watch it for that. So,
yeah, that's the playoffs in the NBA have gotten great ratings, which honestly surprises me because, the dominant teams are in Oklahoma City and in Cleveland and Indianapolis.
Since the I think you might have touched on this, Barry. Since the playoffs, the underdogs have done really well.
Yeah.
Not only covering the spread, but winning the games outright. The underdogs, and I'm with you, CJ. So when it's up 20, I'm thinking, oh, this game's over. But what I found interesting, I come back 20 minutes later and the game's tied. I'm thinking,
the game's tied, yeah. The New York Knicks have been they've been fun to watch. I'm kind of rooting for them the rest of the way. I like Jalen Brunson quite a bit. So.
Oh yeah, he's a player.
He's excellent. He's excellent. I would like to think that's how I played. I know I wasn't, but I like his game though.
I'm trying to figure out here. with the and I'm trying to figure out the some of the different proposals that are in the way in terms of the House settlement. One of the proposals, or several of the proposals, hinge on roster limitations in football, getting down and basically eliminating walk-ons. Every player that you have in football would be a scholarship player. You would have fewer players. Your experience makes me ask this question. Walk-ons, and I'm around them a lot, I don't know how you conduct practices and scrimmages and scout teams and stuff without walk-ons. Can you add a little insight into that? Is that even feasible to eliminate walk-on players from participating in intercollegiate sports?
I think that's a bad idea. I really do. I think walk-ons, they mean a lot to a ball club. I think they, like you said, when you're running practices, when you need scout teams, all those things matter to get a good look, to try to basically create the game type of situation at practice. Try to make sure guys can see it before actually having to do it in when bullets are flying past their face, kind of thing on Saturdays. I think it's very important, but also team morale. I think people don't take into consideration what walk-ons do, even in the locker room. Most of them are always upbeat. They got the most team spirit. They'll do anything for the university. And you don't have a lot of guys like that anymore. And I think that, and then also academically, usually they're the smartest guys on the team as well. And it helps out with that. I just think it's a bad idea. I think you have a lot of really good guys who are good advocates for the university, good advocates for the team. And to do away with them, guys who, and we've seen a lot of guys who've gone from walk-on to starters. That has happened in the SEC, not just, this has happened in the Power Five, not just at your lower level conferences. So I just think that may be a mistake. And if you take the walk-ons out, now you got your kind of second and third string guys, they're on scout team instead of learning the playbook, right? So now you've got your first team guys that are probably really good, but your second and third string guys, they may be athletic or fast or whatever it is, but they don't understand the concepts as well because they've been on the other side of the ball instead of learning the playbook.
And sometimes they can end up being really good players. Baker Mayfield was a walk-on. Heck, J.J. Watt was a walk-on,
The
Hunter
list goes
Renfrow,
on.
those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing. Here we are, baseball's a hot topic. The SEC tournament's about to begin. College World Series in a couple of weeks as well. Then, of course, Major League Baseball. And I'll just be up front. I've never been a huge Braves fan in Major League Baseball. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts and interests in baseball, whether it's collegiate or in the major leagues.
So I've kept up with it quite a bit in the past years because I grew up a baseball guy, enjoyed the game, but even more so when I got to Vanderbilt and literally all of my classmates were going to the MLB, right? So I love to keep up with those guys. Was a huge Atlanta Braves fan when my buddy Dansby was there, but now I've kind of switched over to the Cubs. But always a big supporter of Tim Corbin and the program he has at Vanderbilt. Those guys out east, they wanted to fight after the game. They couldn't take a loss. They're just sore losers, you know what I mean? But it's to be expected, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
and
it is.
That's just the kind of program they run over there. We're just going to keep moving forward because it's not good enough to just win in Knoxville. We're trying to get to Omaha and win championships. They win one and they're good. They're good for the next 10 years. That's how they run their program.
I'm glad CJ brought that up. Vanderbilt wins, against Tennessee. They get into the middle of the field. They dogpiled a little bit in the middle of the field. Vanderbilt does. Tennessee's got a problem with that. How about win the game if you got a problem with it?
That's
I mean,
right.
I'm sorry, they're the cockiest guys in the SEC.
Oh,
And their coach leans into it. They bat flip. They beat on their chest.
They'll
when they hit
trash
home
talk.
runs.
They'll glare
they're throwing stuff on the field, and then just because we celebrated a win, it's a problem. I don't get it.
See, we all, we both John and I think the world of CJ Duncan. We love having him on. When we reach common ground, like we all have big problems with Tennessee, I mean that includes us all. We're all a community when we're talking about Tennessee, John.
Absolutely, 100%.
Barry knows when the third Saturday in October's rolling around, things get a little tenser, a little more nervous because, it's like I told him, CJ, Alabama fans look at Tennessee fans and go, you people act like you invented the game. I mean, come on. Who do you think you are?
Yeah. They really do. They really do. They think they're the best thing since sliced bread, and sometimes you got to humble them. And I will continue to say when I get the opportunity. When I was playing, we beat them 3 out of the 4 years. So I've got that on YouTube.
Yeah, they'll never take it away from.
What was it like walking back to the locker room after you beat them in Knoxville?
Oh, they were throwing stuff at us. They were throwing water bottles and miscellaneous things that, you're not sure exactly if that was a golf ball or whatever, but they threw things on us, and it was bad. They do not accept losing. They want to continue to play the game until they're ahead. So, but you kind of embrace it, because you're the one that brought it out of them. I think my final year, senior year, we played in Knoxville. And it was such a blowout. I think they started clearing the stands pretty early. I think I had about 99 yards and a touchdown in Knoxville. So it was a good day.
I hate it because part of my role, I think, on this program is to keep everything on schedule. Because I guarantee you, this topic we can go another hour and a half,
absolutely.
and none of us would.
If you keep getting me fired up, I'll talk about other games we had against them.
We'll do that for sure. CJ. Oh man, talking about Tennessee gets us all worked up. CJ, man, we appreciate it as always. It's great content, and we really do enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. See you guys next week.
We'll do it, CJ. Thank you, buddy. Great stuff. CJ Duncan, YellowhammerNews.com. Can you imagine the feeling of beating Tennessee in Knoxville if you're a Vanderbilt player, and then they're throwing stuff at you? Come on, UT fans.
Winning the game if you
You're better than that.
It's not like they're throwing it at him because the Vanderbilt players were doing the shimmy or the sprinkler after a sack. We all know better. Look, my two most unfavorite teams on the planet are Georgia, always be Georgia, and Tennessee. Tennessee, they're so up and down. When they win, it's like, the whole world is at their feet. They invented the game. When they lose, it ain't their fault. It's your fault. How dare you? Let me find a wine bottle.
I love it, Barry. I know it was tough
at you
for people to see Tennessee make the 12-team playoff last year. But they got a lot of satisfaction knowing that 60,000 Tennessee fans went to Columbus and they got beat bad. So there was some satisfaction in knowing that all those UTers made the road trip and stayed at the Roadway Inn in Columbus, and with probably 8 in a room, all the relatives, and then they had to come on back home. It was awesome. Great stuff. Kind of like last night's NBA, which we'll get to when we return.
Yeah, there's plenty of NBA conversation. That's coming up in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
This isn't going to work. No matter what we say, some people still drive drunk. But we're Budweiser. Giving a damn is what we do. So, if you think it's okay to drive drunk, if you think it's something that's debatable, or you just simply don't care, this Bud is not for you. Give a damn. Don't drive drunk. Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. All right, about 21 minutes past the hour here on this Wednesday, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Got a couple of games in the NBA tonight. We got an Eastern and Western Conference semifinal matchup. And, boy, these series are both 3-1, with the Knicks leading the Celtics 3-1, and the T-Wolves leading the Golden State Warriors 3-1. But before we get to tonight's game,
let's hold on. Yeah, timeout on tonight. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it okay if we kind of dabble in last night's conference semifinal games, if you'd like?
Yeah, if you'd like to, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me start with this stat. The number 1 seed in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they were very good at home this year. You have to be very good at home in order to have the record that they have. And they were the number 1 seed in the East. The Cavaliers this year at home were 36-5.
Wow.
Against 36-5 at home in Cleveland against every NBA franchise except the Indiana Pacers. The Cavaliers at home against the Pacers this year, 0-5. 0-5 at home against the Pacers, 36-5 against everybody else. The Pacers win at Cleveland last night, 114-105. Cavaliers are done. The Pacers will move on to the conference finals.
Yes.
Which for Indiana, I believe will begin on Monday.
Were the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Final last year?
I know they beat the Cavaliers last year.
Yeah.
That's the second straight year of that.
I didn't realize that they had won 5 at Cleveland. Last night's game, well, they won it outright as an 8-point underdog.
Yep.
We had it in the Phantoms Daily Dog, the Pacers plus the 8. Obviously didn't need it. They won by 9. And as this game kind of started wearing into the fourth quarter, you could see what was coming. And a lot of attaboys on the text line, the River Region Straw text line. Always appreciate the little love for the Phantom. You know, it's amazing. I wish there was more on the River Region Straw chat line, just saying. But needless to say, another, there again, underdog winning the game outright, winning the series. Underdogs have really been dominant in the NBA postseason.
Oh, bad night for Cleveland. Bad night for the Cavaliers. I had the sense, and I don't want to read anything into it, I had the sense that even if the Phantom had gone with the other game, and the Phantom's been so hot lately, he probably would have picked the winner in that one too. The Thunder, despite 44 points from Nikola Jokic for the Nuggets, the Thunder beat the Nuggets yesterday by 7 in Oklahoma City. That's a big one. The Thunder now leads that series 3-2, and they'll play again coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, they will.
Thursday. That's not today.
The Nuggets did cover that game. They did cover the spread in that game.
I think either one. Obviously, the Phantom picked a winner officially, but I think in the other one, I kind of knew where he was leaning in that one. That was he would have won that one too. So there you go.
So both dogs cover last night. One of the dogs wins outright. So will that happen tonight? Will a outright dog win the game?
Could be, because the two teams that are facing elimination are both facing elimination without their best players.
Yes, they are. So, you remember Jason Tatum of the Celtics out. Achilles surgery, I believe.
Yeah, had it yesterday. He's going to be gone, obviously, for the rest of the playoffs, probably on into next year. I think next year's schedule begins a week and a half after the end of the NBA final, something like that. Anyway, so he's missing big time, but he's done.
So what team rallies around their stars that won't be playing?
Steph Curry for the Warriors.
It is able to, I don't know, keep it close, if you will.
Okay, keep it close.
Been very impressed with the New York Knicks and their run through the playoffs. Only a 4.5-point underdog tonight. Seems
they could close it out. Knicks are up 3-1.
They certainly could. Golden State, you mentioned Steph Curry, not going to play.
Yeah,
injured.
He says he's that comes from him. He said, even if I wanted to be Superman, I couldn't.
Yeah. So it's a big, tall order in Minnesota tonight. The Warriors are down 3-1. But, Barry, I got to play the hot hand here. And the Celtics without Jason Tatum, I think, is huge. That guy was filling it up the other night.
He had 44 when he got hurt.
Yeah, that is a huge miss. So I wish the number was a little higher. I will say that. I don't want to be greedy. You can't be greedy here. But, I can't get off of a hot hand. I got to ride this horse. I am taking the New York Knicks tonight to cover the spread against Boston. The Knicks catching 4.5 tonight, 6 o'clock, TNT. Knicks cover against Boston plus the 4.5.
Yeah. When we come back, we'll be joined by the head baseball coach of the Troy Trojans, Skylar Meade. His team faces a big home series coming up. We'll get to him in just a moment. We'll take an early break here. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150, with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
It doesn't matter if you're running drills at the park, playing pickup on a Saturday, or sinking the final putt. When you compete with your friends with Michelob Ultra on the line, competition isn't that friendly. The trash talk, next level, and the stakes, those are crystal clear. With only 95 calories and superior smooth taste, it's the ultimate trophy. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. About, around bottom of the hour here on a Wednesday. And, Barry, we welcome in the head baseball coach for the Troy Trojans, Skylar Meade, joining us today. Coach, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. You guys?
Doing really well. It's that time of year, Coach. We right now heading into the weekend series, and we're going to talk about that a bunch. Trojans 37-16, 18-9 in the Sun Belt Conference, third place right now. RPI around 39. Appraise the position that your club is in heading into the final week of the regular year.
I mean, I think we have. If you they always say, "Would you sign the deal?" I mean, you probably would. I mean, obviously, there's things I would like to be even better, or if ands or buts. But I mean, the reality is, we've done some things no other teams in the country have done. We've been ranked every week, so that means we've been consistent. We have a great team, great program, storied program coming in the final weekend. I don't think you could really ask for much more if you're being honest. If you're a player, coach, if you're a fan, I don't really know what else you would want going into this final weekend. I think it's going to be pretty exciting, and we'll be ready to strap it up once we start tomorrow night.
Coach, tomorrow night is Southern Miss, by the way, 6:00 start, first game of 3. Tomorrow night at 6, Saturday at 6, Friday at 6, and Saturday at 3:33 at Riddle Pace Field, which is a big deal, Coach, having it at home.
I would hope so. We've been good historically at home. I would hope that fanfare with the 2 night games, and then we know how Saturdays are down here at RPF. So I would hope that can be something that can push us over the edge day by day. And we also have a great group of seniors too that, will be honored as the weekend goes. And, we're going to do some things internally today for those guys. And then they'll have their moment throughout the duration of the weekend and certainly on Saturday. But my goodness, you have a top 20 matchup the final weekend at RPF in May, and it's going to be 92 degrees. My goodness, I don't know what else you could have going on.
So Barry's been telling me for about a week or so now, and the coaches probably don't like to hear this, maybe it's a jinx or something like that. But, man, what an accomplishment winning every series you've played this year. That is incredible. I said, Barry, has any other team ever done that before? He said, yeah, I'm sure somebody somewhere somehow. But to win every series, yeah, nobody this year. What's the secret?
See, as a coach, I still think we should have done more. But yeah, we're the only team. I'm not Barry knows. I'm not coach speaking. We're the only team in the country to do it.
Yeah.
There's no one else. There's 307 teams. We're the only ones. So it speaks to a level of consistency that has been unmatched, and that's not hyperbole. That's fact. So obviously we want to do that again this weekend. It is not going to be easy. We're going to play the game day by day, which part of our success has been how good we are at just taking each game in itself. Each game's its own unique Super Bowl, and we don't let it spill over positively or negatively. Mm-hmm. And so, look, that level of consistency, I think, should certainly be rewarded as we get to later May when, different things are evaluated. If it's not, then people don't know how to pay attention to what the heck's going on in the sport. To get a group of 18 to 24-year-old guys to be good every single week, that is incredibly difficult to do. And to also juggle some of the things that we have the last month, pitching wise, I'd love to have had our number 1, number 2, who are dudes, ready, willing, and able, and they haven't been. I think we're going to get one of them back, and hopefully we get one of them back to being himself. But in the last month, to have 6 innings from Gary Gaines and Noah Edders, and for us to continue winning is an accomplishment that won't be appreciated right now, but at some point I hope that it is. Texas hasn't done great when they lost their guy who transferred in from Indiana State. I could go down a list of teams when they lose their dude. And we haven't had our dude, and yet we've thrust a freshman in there, and he's been good, and our teams picked each other up when we need to. And so I certainly hope, to your original question, I certainly hope it's rewarded. Winning every week is done by one team in college baseball, and you're looking at it here in the fine little town of Troy. As I look over RPF, we're the only ones.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And as you key towards, the end of the regular year and into the postseason, beginning with the Sun Belt tournament in Montgomery here next week, for a lot of people who are just casually looking into the program, the face of your program is Brooks Bryan from over in Opelika, Sun Belt Player of the Week this week, 7 for 16, all of them extra bases, a triple, 4 homers, and all that. He's shouldered a lot of the load, both obviously production-wise, but just in representing this program. Coach, what has he meant?
I think the representing the program's probably been the bigger aspect of things that maybe there's not a handbook for. I mean, there's never been a player that was on Team USA for Troy as he was this past summer and a star on that team to have all the responsibilities that he has on and around campus, to be kind of the poster child for a team that has certainly got a lot of acclaim heading into the season and then has continued it through the three months of the season. That's a lot. And, I must admit, for a little while, I didn't want to, make him think of things more. And you try to let players be themselves and handle their own stuff. But, we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was very pointed about some things that I thought Brooks could do to improve maybe his mindset, not his baseball skill. He's handled that. He works on that. His body is outstanding. He's durable. But we talked about some things mentally, and I've been really proud to see him put that into action. Barry knows we're very pointed with our guys. We'll give them the information very bluntly.
Very truthful.
Back it up with fact, right? Here's why we're saying this, and here's the information. But I felt Brooks had some stress maybe on his shoulders, and so we sat down in the office that I'm talking to you guys in right now. And for him to have the week he had last week, I say it all the time. And don't get me wrong, I'm very confident in my coaching abilities and our staff's coaching abilities. But when you get to May, it's player time. And they're the stars. They're the ones on the fields. They're the ones sacrificing. They're the ones that are in the fire. And you need players, big-time players, to be big-time players. And Brooks has been that so far in May, and we're going to need a lot more of it from him and other guys that are supposed to be stars. That's what you have to have in May.
Coach, with baseball extending into May and sometimes even further than that, school's out. I think Troy graduates this Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got your baseball team, and they've taken care of their academic side of it. So do you get more time? Is there more work? Is there more one-on-one? Or do you kind of keep your routine the same as it was throughout the regular season when school was in session?
I'll answer that two ways. It's kind of interesting. This is the latest that we've ever gone at Troy since I've been here. Normally we've been done with 2 or 3 weeks left in the season. So you kind of get into that maybe different routine a little earlier. We haven't had that, which is okay. What I try to do is not mix it up too much. Now, will we practice a little earlier in the day to give them some more time for recovery and different things? Absolutely. Yesterday we practiced in the morning. Today we'll go 12:30. We'll lift after. We'll have a team meeting following that, but we'll be done by 3:05 today. Rather than your kind of 2:30, 4:30 window that you do and you lift in the mornings. You don't have to do it that way right now. But I don't want to put too much on them. You got to keep them fresh. To me, going and doing 10,000 reps of bunt defense, if we can't do it now, we were going to be bad at it in the game anyways. Not that we're not going to work on things. I got to make sure the pitcher's breaking balls are tight. We got to make sure guys are feeling confident with their swings. If a guy's struggling on receiving a double play feed, we got to make sure we get the hands going on it. But in the end, they need to make sure they feel strong in the weight room. They need to make sure that their bodies are recouped. And we need to make sure that they have a little bit of time to keep their minds free and kind of enjoy the present moment and their time around their teammates. Because I think that's important right now. If you're delved in and locked in with your teammates, I think some of that's going to provide mental freedom so they can play better on the field when that time comes.
As the scroll says at the bottom of the screen, Troy head baseball coach Skylar Meade speaks specifically about the challenge starting tomorrow at Riddle Pace Field. There's not a lot not to like about Southern Miss if you take a look at their program.
Yeah, they're the most probably consistent program, one of the most consistent in college baseball, most long-term consistent in the Sun Belt. Coach after coach after coach after coach, they've won at a high level. They do a great job with their pitchers. Their offense is the best year they've ever had. They lead the league in both pitching and offensive numbers, power output. They don't run. They have 14 steals. If there's anything in their game that they don't do, and they'll tell you, we do not run. We play for the 3-run homer. They got a bunch of big-bodied left-handed hitters. They got an infielder named Monaster who can really, stick it from the right side. They got some speed guys and Pratt and Cook who can kind of slap it and move around, bunt game, all that. But they just play very simple. They don't beat themselves. They throw strikes. They handle the rock, and they expect to win. And so when you expect to win and you've done it for 30 years, as every person that comes in there, they can look to the guy before them and go, hey, what's it like? And that guy can tell them a pathway. I think for us, we've been trying to do that on an accelerated pace, and we have not gotten to the Southern Miss stratosphere because time, they've done it for so many years. But what I think will be interesting this weekend is you're going to watch two teams that are going to, strap it up, and everyone on that field's an alpha. Everyone on that field expects to win, and everybody absolutely wants to be in that arena as one of the, more exciting matchups that there is in college baseball. And I don't mean just Sun Belt. I mean the United States of America of playing college baseball. I mean, it's going to be some pretty exciting stuff. The kid they'll throw on Thursday night's got a chance to maybe be a first-round pick. In fact, for people in the area, they'd love to know that he was projected to be a first-round pick to the Braves in one of the latest mock drafts. So he's going to come in here and obviously be confident. And we just got to be up to the challenge competitively. And I will tell you this. If there are people in our program, because that's the only one that I can worry about, we're going to play who's most ready to compete at a high level. If somebody's, nervous or unable to elevate themselves in this sort of arena, they won't participate.
Oh, I love that. Love
Coach,
that philosophy. As a college baseball coach, is there a rule in college baseball that you either don't like or would like to see changed?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. I love the pitch clock stuff. I love timing and creating tempo, but it's gotten to where it's now weird. And then there's like a gamesmanship to it. They got it where at 8 seconds, the hitter has to be in, but then the pitcher can't look up before. It's gotten to be a mess. They need to move that to probably 10 seconds, which we could give a dissertation on that. No, I'll tell you the one that I said, and I said it last year, it got a little bit of, social media traction, but I really wish that, we could do a format for the NCAA tournament that you had 32 host sites to allow the NCAA tournament to be on more campuses. I think there's a pathway to do that, to maybe add an extra week of an NCAA tournament. You could condense the regular season by a week or move it up a week. Who cares? It's cold February 14th or February 7th, a lot of places. Who gives a rip? Don't give me the thing like we can't do this extra time. It's about money and entertainment. In college football, it went just fine when Tennessee and Ohio State were playing last year, or when I don't remember who Boise State got. Guess what? Everybody was watching. They were entertained, and people made a lot of money. So when the Southern Misses and Troys, who in this situation would be hosting teams, and we'd have 4,000 people here in RPF, I don't think anybody would be complaining. So I think there's a pathway to do it. That's just my opinion. I don't care what anyone thinks. I think it would be great for the game. I think it would be exciting. I think it brings more money. And guess what? When more people realize how awesome college baseball is and they get to see it up close and personal, they're going to be more willing to grow the game. It's the fastest growing game in college sports. You can go look at the financials, see what happens with Omaha, see with TV viewership, see with Sun Belt baseball viewership. That's our job. I mean, I'm a coach. Don't get me wrong. My job's to win. It says it on my hat, coach. But in the end, we're also supposed to entertain, right? And to me, getting on more campuses and having more people appreciate what college baseball can do for your university, the better.
If you had a mic, you could drop it right now, Coach. I'm telling you. We sign on to that. Troy baseball coach Skylar Meade, they host Southern Miss tomorrow, beginning the final series of the regular year, 6 o'clock tomorrow, 6 o'clock Friday, 3:33 on Saturday. Good luck, and we can't wait to get out there and get it going, Coach.
Thank you guys so much. Enjoy, Barry. We will see you either later today or tomorrow.
That sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Great stuff. Skylar Meade, Troy head baseball coach. Hey, I hear you. What was it, 30 years ago? We need a 16-team playoff, and I don't care what anybody else thinks about it. That's the way I see it.
Coach
Skylar kind of the same way. Love that fire and tenacity. Love it.
People weren't ready for it back then. John says, I don't care. I mean, it needs to happen. We're going to get that done. Sure. Skylar's the same way. And he's right. It'll come down to, John, what does it always come down to? It comes down to
money.
And I'm telling you, there is money still to be made in college baseball. We'll take a break. It's 1:45. Of course, Coach Meade and the Trojans against Southern Miss. Don't forget, next week, they're in Montgomery for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament, which actually begins in a little bit less than a week. The first round games will begin next Tuesday at Riverwalk Stadium. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs.
On the basketball court, the soccer pitch, or even the golf course, your crew brings their best not just for the win, but for that post-game celebration. When victory tastes like Michelob Ultra, it's worth every drop of sweat. And if you don't win, you'll still get the beer. It's just on you. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. Superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, back at it. Great interview with Skylar Meade there. I like his fire and tenacity there. I can't remember. I know we've talked to him before, but man, he's fired up. I get it. No holes barred. Awesome.
He is full of energy. Everything he does full blast, and he's great to work with. Players love him. He resonates with the fans, and he's got his team on the cusp of the NCAA tournament. Hopefully, with a really strong weekend this weekend against Southern Miss, they get into the Sun Belt tournament with some momentum going. I'm certainly looking forward to it. You can see the support on the River Region Straw chat line. A lot of Troy fans checking in there. We appreciate that. It's been a good day, busy day so far. Much good stuff. Boy, you talk about fire and determination. CJ Duncan, John just, I don't know how he got involved in it, but somebody mentioned Tennessee to a Vanderbilt guy.
Man.
That lit him up pretty good. So a lot of energy on the program today.
Love it. And I Coach Meade saying, look, man, if you're not ready to play, you ain't playing. I mean, you're sitting over there on the bench and play tic-tac-toe.
If you that's a thing. And it would be surprising for a lot of people to understand that it's that thing in a lot of sports. College football at the highest level. College baseball at the highest level. You can probably, if you're honest with yourself, think back to your favorite team and think back to a moment on the football field when your favorite team was playing and you had a guy out there that he thought, he was bouncing around on the sidelines and, rap music and all that kind of stuff and energetic and thought he was ready to play. But when he got out on the field and the play came to him, he was not ready for it. 4th down and goal against Michigan in the lots of times when people think, "Oh, I'm ready to compete. I know how to compete." You ask Nick Saban, man, you ain't ready to compete. We got to get somebody out there. I don't care if he's a walk-on. If he's going to go out there and we can trust him, we can depend on him, and he's ready to go out there and mix it up, that kid's going to get a chance, as opposed to the 5-star who's out there preening around and, motioning to the crowd and all that kind of stuff. Give me a guy who'll get in there when the moment comes to him that is ready to take advantage of it,
Big moment guys. That was, it's kind of like guys that aren't practicing, like Bo Jackson. He was known as not a practice guy, but he showed up at the big moments, got it done. I tried to use that same philosophy. It didn't work. I guess some people it will, some people it won't.
Yeah, Bo didn't want to leave his best plays on the practice field at the intramural fields over there by the Pie Cap House or something. He wanted to do it in Legion Field or in Knoxville or something like that.
Whoa. Knoxville? I think he got hurt in Knoxville.
I just said he wanted to. But
wanted to. How do I remember that?
This is the reason why John always kind of snickered at those guys who are humping up and gritting their teeth and taking these big old huge swings with their driver on the practice tee.
Yeah. Come on.
And, and all that kind of stuff. And he said, hey, man, that guy looks like a practice tee All-American.
Well,
he might win the practice tee open,
Yeah. There was a former golf coach at Alabama, Conrad Railing. I had some friends that were on the golf team at Alabama, and he would kind of in his unique way call them a bunch of blankety blank range pros. Different from the range pro we know. What he meant was they look great on the practice tee, but you get out there on the course, you guys can't do bleep. Yeah. Of course,
when
the
you're
range
on
pro
the putting green,
was the guy that picked up range balls better than anybody I've ever seen pick them up in my life. Hence the name Range Pro.
You got a guy, man, he'll hit. He'll drop a 14-footer with a little break. He'll drop it center of the cup on the putting green all day.
Oh yeah.
You're down a hole. You really need this one. Otherwise, he's getting in your pocket even deeper. You hit that 14-footer. That's the money putt right there. Instead of wasting it on the putting green. It's a true statement.
Gurn Jr.'s got on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel for today. Looks like it's loaded up pretty well. And
I can't believe you went Bo Jackson at Tennessee like immediately.
Boom. I mean,
he can't tell you what he ate for lunch yesterday, but he remembers that Bo separated his shoulder.
Allegedly
against Tennessee on the road. 40 years ago.
Yeah, I think Alabama was playing Vanderbilt that day. I was in Nashville. I don't know why I remember that. And I think it was raining in Knoxville that afternoon as well. How do I remember that?
How in the world?
Okay, let's see some topics. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel. It's Victoryland's 777 topic wheel where you can move to exit 22 off I-85 in Shorter, Alabama. Year 18. Well, I know a lot of Alabama fans were hoping Saban would have a year 18.
Oh, yeah. Year 18 was about the time when I thought, I think me and John might last. I think we may we may make it in this business. Yeah. Clayton Kershaw, who pitches for the Dodgers, left-hander, he will debut for the Dodgers on Saturday. He's old. He's been terrific, maybe the best left-hander in Major League Baseball during his tenure. And he is on the injured list. He has knee injuries. He has a toe injury. And he will make a start to begin his 18th season with the Dodgers on Saturday against the LA Angels. He's been rehabbing in AAA with Oklahoma City. Probably been watching the Thunder. The Dodgers have a couple of their starters, including Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell. They're on the injured list, so they really need him. 18 years in the bigs for Clayton Kershaw. Season debut on Saturday. There you go.
That is awesome stuff there. All right. Dodger. Okay. All right, Gurn, let's spin it again. 4 more topics to go here on this Wednesday. Let's see where they all line up. And it's going to be, is that bad? Oh, bad bet.
Bad bet.
Bad bet. Ooh.
Hunter Deckers. John, do you have any clue whatsoever who Hunter, the Saints signed him, which doesn't mean he's any good.
Yeah, obviously.
Believe me.
Iowa State. I mean, a quarterback from Iowa State. Are you kidding me? Wait a minute. This guy had some gambling issues? Who was that former quarterback at Ohio State that had those gambling issues?
Schleister. Yeah. That guy, I mean, that was a mental problem out there. There was another Iowa State quarterback who's doing pretty well for the 49ers. Hunter Deckers was the quarterback who succeeded Brock Purdy at Iowa State. Remember, they had this big deal going on in the state of Iowa, at the University of Iowa and Iowa State. Deckers and other players, there was evidence presented by Iowa law enforcement that he thought was unconstitutional. I think his deal was he and a couple of his buddies, they really got caught up in betting on their phones. Anyway, he permanently lost his NCAA eligibility. He sued the NCAA saying that, they had no right to inspect his phone or demand this. This was not just the NCAA. It was the state of Iowa and everything. So he got permanently banned by the NCAA. He entered the draft. To nobody's surprise, he didn't get drafted. The Saints brought him to minicamp, and now he is the number 4 quarterback.
I mean, gee whiz, they that
for the
desperate?
New Orleans Saints.
I mean, come on.
That's scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I'll never see the field. Never see the field. Okay.
I hope if he does, then they're getting Arch Manning next year because they're going to be the worst team in the NFL if that kid's playing.
You ain't kidding.
Okay.
All right, Gurn, let's spin it yet again and see what is happening.
See, this is what I'm talking about Chris the Bammer. One text. Purdy. What does that mean, Chris? I mean, one word text. Okay, yeah. Let down.
Let down.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Donovan Mitchell, the best player for the Cavaliers. Post-game, tearful locker room. Cavaliers get bounced by the lowly Pacers.
There's no crying in the NBA. Come on.
They got beat 4 games out of 5, and he says, we'll be back. What do you mean we'll be back? You should still be there.
Sure. Where'd you go?
I hate it when people say that. Oh, we'll be back next year. Well, that's next year. Why aren't you there right now? That kind of stuff drives me nuts.
Yep. But you shouldn't be crying in the NBA. Come on.
Golly,
but that was pretty embarrassing.
I remember.
Embarrassing.
John could probably remember this because it was in the 2010s or the 2000s where Tim Tebow and the Florida Gators lost to the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Tebow was on the sidelines on a knee at the end of the game. The game was still going on, but it was obvious Gators were going to lose, and he was in tears. He was crying. Bama fans never let that go. Crying? He's crying. There were memes about it and commentary and stuff.
Can't do that.
Probably better in private there.
Yeah, that's right. Timmy Tears. Okay. All right, let's spin it, Gurn. Let's see what else we got left. See if we can get through these here on a Wednesday. And next up is...
Name 2 words that John will never use on the golf course.
Yeah.
Oh, no, never mind. For free stands for YouTube. They will live stream an NFL 2025 season game for free. You can just log on to youtube.com or a YouTube app.
Okay.
And you can watch. Oh, is that the Chargers game? That's not going to be the game in Brazil, right?
You know, are they just hooking you in here, Barry?
You got that right. Absolutely, they are.
That's what they're doing. They're just throwing that lure out there, waiting for you to snag it.
Yeah. If there are people out there who said, I tell you what, we'll give you a free drink.
Mm-hmm.
If you just come in and buy a full steak dinner, oh, wow, free drink. Come on. Yeah. They're doing this. It's the week 1 of the regular season. It is the Brazil game between the Chargers and, gosh,
I don't think they've announced it yet. I think they're announcing that tonight.
The Chargers are going to be one of the teams.
Correct.
Don't know who the other one's going to be, but it's going to be in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah, I did read their opponent. That opponent will be announced tonight because they announced all these European games and whatnot. The Vikings are playing twice overseas. I saw back-to-back weeks the Vikings are overseas, not the Jags this year. All right, one more to go. Let's spin it and see where it ends up. We got to do it to make it official. Looks like somebody was sending some bad text.
Is this
Let's see what this is all about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, who's the best defensive player for the Cincinnati Bengals, he is involved in a holdout right now. He wants a bigger contract. He is staying out of the OTAs and not negotiating right now.
I think I saw yesterday, Barry, he's led the league in sacks the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, nobody gives him much credit. That guy is a great player. He has gotten texts. It's not necessarily from fans who are saying, you stink, we don't want you. It's like from his coach, Zach Taylor. He says those texts were disappointing. Yesterday, he said that Zach Taylor sent him text saying that he will be fined if he doesn't attend mandatory minicamp. He says we tried to keep it at least amount as personal as possible, but at this point, it becomes personal. Being sent 30 days before mandatory camp, if I don't show up, I'll be fined, alludes to the fact that something won't get done in that time frame. He says, if you're saying, I'm going to start getting fined if I don't come into camp within 30 days, I guarantee you I ain't coming in 30 days now. So, he says those are disappointing,
Well, guys probably making a ton of money. I'm not going to cry a river for him, but
it's not the hugest
get that cleared
club.
up. All right, tomorrow we're at the Montgomery Regional Airport, getting better the more you use it. We'll also be joined by Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover. Also, Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, exclusively brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. So we got a lot happening tomorrow. We'll continue our series of important stretches throughout the week as well.
Got almost halfway through. So we still got some more work to do on that. Many thanks. We had some dynamic conversations with CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, Skylar Meade, the head baseball coach of the Troy Trojans. Great stuff from Gurn Jr., our producer. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.